Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from the Daily Signal dated July 12th. Something a little different from the normal stuff around here, and it's Major League Baseball has turned its back on America's pastime. And the reason I thought it'd be interesting to talk about this is I think I've said this in a few other videos, is that baseball was always my sport growing up. Played it for close to, maybe 20 years, and then did softball for another 5 or 6 after that. Followed baseball, the majors all the time. Had baseball cards when I was a youngster and a teenager. Still have them, actually, in my closet somewhere. But yeah, so baseball has always kind of been like, that's my number one sport. So I stopped watching a couple of years ago after the season after COVID because of pretty much what's going to happen in this article, what we're going to read about. And this is the baseball commissioner, Rob Manfred. So I thought it'd be interesting to talk about this because, again, it's something that kind of strikes a chord with me. So it says, while recent rule changes such as adding a pitch clock, banning the shift, and implementing a universal designated hitter have all been the subject of much debate, none of which rule changes I personally like, it says Major League Baseball has also been staking out controversial positions on more consequential topics too: racial justice, LGBTQ issues, and business dealings with the Chinese Communist Party. And in each instance, Major League Baseball has proven that it no longer deserves its moniker as America's pastime, and probably hasn't for a while. The NFL has really kind of taken that from baseball, but I also stopped watching the NFL, and that's a whole nother topic for something different. And plus, I think you can actually hear it on some previous videos that I've made as well. But this up here that I'm highlighting, because I don't really know about the business dealings of the Chinese Communist Party, but this stuff really is kind of, it's hasn't helped my viewing of Major League Baseball, but we'll get to why I actually stopped watching the game. But the racial justice stuff, like the COVID season, was just like players wearing, end racism shirts. And it was like, I've come to the games to escape my life, okay? Because it gives me something to think about. I love studying the game. It's like, an actual chess game. And then I'm bombarded with messages about this, and it's like, nobody wants racism. Like, we don't need to have shirts that say end racism. Like, there practically isn't any anyway from where you folks think it's coming from. But anyway, let's get on with this before I get way off topic, because this is a semi-long article. It says, on the day after the 2023 All-Star Game, who can forget the virtue signaling debacle that MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred engineered 2 years ago? And that would be this dude, like I said. And this is why I stopped watching baseball. Is this sentence coming up right here? It says he strongly supported moving the 2021 All-Star Game out of Georgia after the state passed common sense election integrity measures. So this happened, I think, when he made this decision, it was the day after opening day for the Cubs, because I'm in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. I'm a lifelong Cubs fan. And when I saw this, I just went, yeah, I'm not doing this. And then after this election, I think this article may say it. I did read this, but I don't remember when it happened. But they found out that there was higher voter turnout in Georgia in 2022. And then people were starting to be like, well, is he going to apologize for moving the All-Star Game? And then after that election, they also pulled like random folks in the African American community, because supposedly the rule changes that were made were going to be bad for African Americans. And it came back, and I'm not even slightly kidding about this, that not a single African American said that they had problems at the polls. Not one. It was literally 0%. And so it's like, so you guys moved the All-Star Game based on lies that you were told about the Georgia rules, which is what happened. So Manfred, as after the 2021 All-Star Game, says he loudly proclaimed Major League Baseball fundamentally supports voting rights for all Americans and opposes restrictions on the ballot box. And if he knew anything about what he was talking about, he'd know that none of that actually happened. At least the restrictions to the ballot box. Of course, every American should have voting rights. That's like undeniable. Says, did he even read or understand Georgia's law before making that statement? No. Or did he just listen to the political spin put out by Joe Biden, Stacey Abrams, and their ilk? Yes. It's likely the latter, since he moved the game to Colorado, which ironically had implemented equally or more stringent election integrity laws in certain areas, such as voter ID and early voting, than Georgia's. And what was I going to say about that? And part of the thing, too, is that if you know anything about Atlanta, because again, that's where the game was going to be, which is a primarily African-American city, they moved it to Denver in Colorado, which is overwhelmingly white. So there was that optic that he had to deal with as well. So good job there, Rob Manfred. Costing a city upwards of maybe 9 figures worth of injection of money into the economy to move it to a place that kind of really didn't need that, based on lies. So then there's MLB's horrendous record of partnering with radical LGBTQ organizations and promoting their radical ideologies. Most recently, one of MLB's most storied franchises, the Los Angeles Dodgers, appropriately received widespread backlash over inviting a hate group, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, to its Pride Night and bestowing a Community Hero Award on it. Yeah, this is an actual hate group. If you say these folks hate Catholics, and if you go look at what they do, it's anti-Catholic. If you're in a group of people and you specifically hate another group of people because of what they are, that's a hate group. And I know that the leftists like to say hate groups are just for groups of people they don't like, even if that group of people is just like Moms for Liberty who are just trying to not have sexual things in schools for their kids. They're not a hate group at all. But when your whole existence is to hate on a certain group of people because of what they are, yeah, that's a hate group. So yeah, that was another thing that I was like, whoa, what the hell just happened there? So that doesn't work for me. So it says the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence is a group of drag queens who dress up like nuns and put on blasphemous displays. To be sure, it was an egregious example of one MLB team partnering with radical groups, but it is well documented that many other teams have quietly engaged in equally egregious conduct. For instance, a National Review article last year showed that at least 20 teams have promoted or funded groups that advocate or are directly involved in child gender transitions. And to complete the trifecta, MLB has partnered with and promoted interests supported by the Chinese Communist Party. In the past several years, companies such as Mikan Sports, I've never heard of them, which MLB partially owns due to its position in the ownership group of Rawlings, have outsourced jobs to China. Oh, okay, so that's why. That's where we outsource our old jobs to, it seems. It says MLB also has aggressively pursued operations and media expansions in China, too. For example, Tony Key, hopefully I'm pronouncing that last name right, this is the managing director of MLB China, has orchestrated deals with large Chinese conglomerates such as Tencent by landing broadcasting deals with Tencent Sports and Tencent Video. The Communist Chinese government has sought to control shares in the company in order to allow it to have significant say over Tencent's business decisions. And of course, MLB continues to do business in and with China despite the government's horrendous records of human rights abuses. As Americans should demand better from the keepers of America's pastime, regrettably, MLB doesn't seem ready to change its ways, but maybe Americans should demand more from MLB and hold its leadership and the leadership of each of its teams accountable until it does. Yeah, I mean, I don't plan on coming back to baseball, and it sucks because this was the one thing I look forward to every year, every spring was spring training and watching the season, even though, I'm a Cubs fan and for most of my life it's been shit. I still enjoyed watching them, because it was my sport. And now it's with all these overtly political things going on, it's why do I want to? Why do I want to come back to that? I don't want to be bombarded with real life in my escapism. It's just not going to be a thing. So I've elected to just say, I'm not going to view my escapism anymore. I'm going to come up with other things I'd rather be doing, than watching baseball. And that's what I've done. I think I've done it pretty successfully. There's a lot of books that I'm reading and other things to do. So why do anything about baseball? And until they start showing some actual common sense, or even if they apologized, like Rob Manfred himself, this man here apologizes to the citizens of Atlanta for this, or for moving the All-Star game. It just shows that they have no contrition and they don't plan on changing. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Have you felt this way about baseball or any other sport, for example? Let me know, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.